Welcome to another edition of the VOD One-on-One. I am your host, Pat Baye, tasked with the social and corporate responsibility to inspire the younger generation. VOD One-on-One is a platform whereby we invite politicians and other CSOs to discuss the current affairs of the country. Today, my guest is no other but Mr. ALMANY. Mr. ALMANY, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
Mr. ALMANY, let's start by you telling us who you are.
I'm a Gambian. I was born in the 1970s. I went to the Gambia High School for my senior secondary education. I was the deputy head boy of my year around 1990-1991. I got a scholarship to study law in India, and then I came back in 1997. I worked at the Attorney General's chambers, and then I got another scholarship to do my master's in the UK. I came back, I continued working for the Gambia government. Then this time I went to work at the Ministry of Finance, the Gambia Divestiture Agency. I resigned from there. Then I started my own consulting firm. After, I think, a couple of years, I was appointed as a judge of the High Court. I was removed by President Jammeh after serving only 1 year. Thereafter, I got employed by the Gambia Chamber of Commerce as their CEO. But throughout all of this time, I was also a part-time law lecturer at the University of the Gambia. We started it in 2007. And since then, I have been consulting for the Africa Development Group, and I became actively involved in politics in 2017 after the change of government. I am currently the Administrative Secretary for Legal and Human Rights Affairs for the UDP, and also the UDP party spokesperson. I am married with children.
Thank you so much, Mr. TAAL. Mr. TAAL, being a legal professional and also working with the OIC, what involves you in politics?
I think everything going on in our lives, in our country, is about politics. So it requires that all of us should consider it as a service that should involve the best citizens, and our best effort should be dedicated to the politics, because if the politics is right, the country can move in the right direction, the country can become a great country, and our children, our brothers and sisters can have good schools, good hospitals, everything that a small country like Gambia needs. It needs quality politicians. That's why I decided to join the United Democratic Party.
Okay, Mr. TAAL, let's talk about the United Democratic Party. What are your policies based on security?
Our security policies are very clearly based on the national interests of the Gambia. And we believe that a security sector reform that was envisaged, whereby the standing army would be rationalized, would be better equipped to be able to take care of the human security needs of Gambia in the 21st century. By that I mean we are surrounded, for example, by Senegal. We are inside Senegal. This is a result of the colonial project. What needs to happen for us is to have a very effective small army to be able to take care of disturbances that maybe the police cannot handle. Because for any external aggression to be successful in the Gambia, either it has to come from Senegal or it has to pass through Senegal. Of course, we have territorial waters that are not bordered by Senegal, but even there, it would be very difficult for anybody or any force, external force, to be able to attack the Gambia. So when we talk about human security, what the UDP is talking about is that there are some disturbances in the sub-region, in the Sahel, Africa, and those disturbances have a way of getting exported, whether it's the Boko Haram or the Al Qaeda that is supposed to be in the Sahel in places like Mali. These are the kind of real security, external security threats that Gambians are facing. But when it comes to internal security, I think the police and the paramilitary establishments are in a good position to defend our security. Therefore, a UDP government will bring in all the necessary tools and the skill sets that in the 21st century you require to have internal security. But apart from the law and order aspects of security, we are also concerned about food security and other general human security issues, from healthcare services and from housing. All of these are, in the view of the UDP, connected, and they need to be looked at from a holistic perspective, so that you don't only have security sector reforms to trim down the army, but you also have arrangements that every commissioned officer in the army has other skills that could go towards helping meet the other human security needs. So it is to modernize our security apparatus, to rely more on the tools of the 21st century, to ensure that places have energy, for example, because if some of these petty crimes that happen in the dark are exposed to either sunlight or to street lights, or if there are CCTV cameras in many strategic locations, even if you do criminal activity, it would be easy to investigate, trace, and detect you. So a modernization program really based on a well-considered security sector reform is what the UDP is thinking about when it is elected into government.
TAAL, you talked about the security reform. What will the UDP government put in place if given the chance to govern the country to ensure the stability and the security of the country?
Like I was saying, the insecurity that is happening in the Gambia, like these petty crimes and some of these serious crimes like rape and murder, and those ones are very rare. I'm saying that if you have a properly restructured police and paramilitary force, and you have a lot of technological help, it will help you to detect crimes even before they are committed. And where they are committed, because of the technology behind you and because of the modern investigation techniques, the persons who are involved in the criminal enterprise could be arrested quicker than it is the case now. Because occasionally we do hear about people having large quantities of these hard drugs like heroin and cocaine and things like that. But the persons involved in that very quickly disappear. Nobody seemed to be able to trace them. And it has been happening very regularly, you know, and the investigation, nobody knows where it goes. Most of the time, the Interpol, that is the International Police Organization, are involved in tracing the routes where these criminal enterprises are originating from and coming into the Gambia. So as a government, we are going to put the security sector on a very high priority, based really on a review or a reformation of the establishment, because most places in the world, security relies a lot on intelligence. And that intelligence is always very discreet, and it involves some surveillance, because security is so sensitive that if you are not using discretion, if you are not using sophisticated surveillance technology, you will not be in a position to know what VOD is doing, before it puts up a show, whether, the person supporting VOD, for example, or any enterprise for that matter, have the legal right or have the legitimate means. So we need to modernize the security sector as a whole. And in that, we expect technology to play a big part. We expect intelligence to play a big part. We expect also that the men in uniform are not only going to be standing on the road, but they would be having very sophisticated technology to help them read the scenario, whether it's during a political season or it is during a business operation, because criminals, especially the sophisticated ones, who really pose a significant threat to our countries. Because if you go to most houses, there isn't much you can steal, because most people don't have much. Maybe a television here, maybe a mobile phone, but everyone knows that that is not the motivation of criminals. So the sense of security that a UDP government will bring really is about modernizing all these areas that are involved. Because if you have an active surveillance system in places where a lot of people go in and out, or where a lot of businesses are around, because we have had instances where a judge's house was broken into and things were stolen. A businessman had some cash in his house or in his store, and people break into that. So I'm saying that with modern technology, you are able to see, even before the crime happens, who is planning, because sometimes it will require some planning. And with technology, with modern techniques, I think these are some of the things that we can put in place to make sure that the security situation improves.
Okay, we are still talking about the security of the country. Rumor has it that a UDP government will cause nuisance to the society, because let's take a look back of what happened during the nomination when the UDP militants trying to force themselves into IEC.
Oh no, the UDP militants did not force themselves into IEC.
They do broke some of the security rules.
No, they did not break any security rule. Before the nomination, we told the IEC our route to the nomination. They put barriers that the nominators will stop around gum walks. And the militants will stop around gum walks and the nominators will go in. But after the nomination, we were going to go towards, what is it called? Old Joshua. And the convoy of the party leader was going to pass through IEC and go that way. IEC themselves said on that day they were I think 2 other people were getting nominated, or 1 other person was getting nominated. So there was some delay, which we apologize for, and it is in the nature of events like this for those kind of time overruns happen. But the UDP has never broken any rule whatsoever. The whole arrangements were such that it was not possible in one go to go past the IEC, so there was a break, and then the nominators and the party leader came in. So that was all that there was. I mean, the IEC did not complain to us or any other person, because only the IEC had authority to determine whether any rule was broken or not.
Okay, Mr. TAAL, let's talk about the 3 years saga. The 3 years saga that involved the party leader of the United Democratic Party, and that 3 years was implemented by him and the lawyer, the Yankuba Dabo, who was unfortunate to be arrested. The 3 years saga involved the president, the current president of the country, and that same current president is the one leading the country as at the moment, and he is also a godson to the United Democratic party leader. But at some point, they had a conflict that refiled to the argument they had. What do you have to say? As a legal professional, what do you have to advise on that case?
Well, this case was very straightforward. People like Yankuba Dabo are members of the UDP Executive Committee, but they are also members of other several organizations. The UDP party leader came out that they are not advising anybody, and we are not advising anybody to go out and protest or do anything as far as this 3 years issue was concerned. But the UDP as a political party has come out and said that these were the responsibilities of President Barrow at that time. And sometimes journalists like you forget that Coalition 2016 had several conditions. It was upon the fulfillment of those conditions that actually President Barrow, who was the flag bearer for UDP, became the flag bearer for the coalition. Now, the first condition was that if you want to participate in the primaries of the Coalition 2016, you have to be a flag bearer or an independent aspirant for the presidency. Number two, in the event that you are successful to win, you have to resign from your party. Number three, you will become the the flag bearer for the coalition. And the fourth condition was that after serving 3 years and doing certain reforms, you will call up new elections. So these three conditions were all satisfied before President Barrow became the candidate. The only remaining condition was the 3 years condition. So if Gambians come out and form an organization and say that you should serve for 3 years as you had promised, Mr. Dabo, our party leader, came out in the beginning to say that the Constitution of the Gambia says that the president is elected for a term of 5 years. That, I can say that as a lawyer, as a Gambian, anybody can say that. But what was agreed was a political agreement between President Barrow and 7 other political parties. So at the end of the day, this is all water under the bridge. It is now passed. Now we are heading to an election in December. I think it is important for the media, particularly, to come up with a scorecard and say that these were the promises, these are the achievements, these are the shortcomings. So the Gambian electorate must now make a referendum on the 5 years of President Barrow. I mean, that's the long and short of it. What happened in the past, because a lot of things happened in the past, a lot of things were said. People are saying Mr. Dabo is not going to be nominated, he's not going to be qualified. All of those things, now they have been put to rest. We are getting very credible sources that President Jammeh is trying to be on the vote. He is trying to be a factor or a candidate in the election. And since last year, UDP has made it absolutely clear that anybody who wants to associate their support or their partnership with the UDP with in any shape or form Yaya Jammeh's APRC, we don't even want you to vote for us. I have said this on a lot of media. A lot of people are saying, oh, you shouldn't have said that. But the fact of the matter is that Yaya Jammeh has been discredited by the Gambian people in 2016. Now courts and commissions have established how he managed to steal the Gambian money. And this kind of things are being seen now around. Because if you are a president, you don't have any job, you don't have any business, you rely only on your salary. So if anybody is going around claiming that they are very wealthy, Gambians, and especially the media, should ask them, where did they get this wealth from? Is it just like what happened in the case of Yahya Jammeh? He used to talk about Allah's World Bank. He is simply a thief, and a court in the UK, in the US, has established that he bought a $5 million mansion in a very expensive part of Washington, D.C., and he and his family used to enjoy that. But in the US, they have laws that if you steal the money from the people and buy anything, they forfeit it. Now it's for the Gambia government to go and claim that, because everyone, they rely on the Janet Commission to establish that case of forfeiture. So I'm just saying that this election in 2021, in 3 weeks' time, is really about leadership. And the media, I think, would serve this country if they ask the real question. The real question is, are we better off from how we were in 2016 to today? What are the lives of the people like? You don't have petrol in this country. At the moment, there is a shortage. Electricity is on and off 24 hours a day. You have lousy internet. Everything is expensive. Everything is, the price is just going up. The roads are terrible. So really, the question that we, the politicians, want to ask is, how did it come about that this country is just going down the drain on a daily basis? Every day you hear all kinds of scandals. You hear all kinds of, corrupt accusations. And one of your members of your fraternity, of Malagan, talks always about corruption at the highest levels. So for me, I really would want us to talk about the future of the Gambia. The future of the Gambia is a Gambia where we have zero tolerance for corruption. This, our party leader has come out very clearly, that when the TRRC report comes out, there will be no room for impunity. Justice will be done so that the widows and the orphans of these people who were killed and disappeared and tortured and imprisoned will at least get some relief. This is what we should be talking about, not 3 years Jotna or UDP has broken this rule or broken that rule. I really hope that the future of the Gambia, where we can all look each other in the eyes and say, well, our country is moving in the right direction, is a discussion that we want to have anytime, anywhere.
Okay, you talked about not talking about the 3 years Jotna, but I don't think there will be a future without a past. So therefore, we also have to treat about the past and then focus on the future. Okay, let's concentrate more about...
No, we talked about the past.
No, okay, yeah, we talked
about 3 years.
Yeah, we talked about 3 years, but you are justifying it.
So, no, I'm not justifying it. I'm just explaining to you, Ms. Baji, that
okay.
What we need to talk about is to establish the facts. The facts are very clear. The 3 years Jotna, I even heard Honorable Mama Kande say that this thing was created by President Barrow. He has been heard on several media saying that he is a businessman. He's going to serve only 3 years. This was the agreement. And even a Senegalese asked, would it not be the case of what they have in Senegal? You say you double speak.
Okay, Mr. TAAL, let's talk about that. You mentioned about the TRRC report. Do you think the government will flush the report as of now? As you know, that the Barrow administration is being involved with the APRC meet.
No, I mean, it is not a question of do I think it would be flush. I mean, it is a question of why is the TRRC report not even out now? Is it the case that they are concerned that if they present it now, President Barrow will just throw it in the bin? Or there are reasons why they cannot present it now, and they are not telling the public. In any case, the UDP has a very clear position, absolutely clear position, that all the recommendations of the TRRC will be implemented in full, because we believe that without justice, no meaningful reconciliation will happen. And it is important for this country to move ahead, that we have justice guiding our actions.
So what is the UDP government putting in place for transitional justice for the victims?
Well, the first thing is that once you have justice, in every case, case by case, you will determine what is the justice of this case. Because we have had some reparations are paid. We have had, for example, the Hyderabad family said that they believe that the other victims need that money more than them, and they are foregoing it. But depending on the case, if you do justice, reparations, restitution, all of these are going to be part and parcel of that. But the important thing is that now that the record has been established correctly, let us let justice guide our action. Because if we do that, there wouldn't be any controversy and there wouldn't be any time wasting.
Okay, just to remind you that you're watching the VOD One-on-One. We go for a short commercial break and then come back.
How greedy! How greedy could you guess me? That's your boundary, and that's where your play is. After seeing all these resources, you claim it that this land belongs to you guys. Korea Miratula, I buy Pambuleba.
Dafale pindi sade kono momo make mandi ko tan sade kono ay pindi ni sade kono bi janin ci lobe bola
Apindi ta asala ngamuna soto kadi yesun kutun dingola soto
e hayna siring na sate kono e bebe tankunding e be kayro kono laftala kayitande ko ye nyindula e laftaka minke tati laftaka foyele ko banki
illa moy ngamoy ka funyi fama la marala nya mfama la maral nya mala maral nya ti bantela maral nya
How dare you and your people start fighting for what never belongs to you guys. Resources,
Welcome back to the VOD One-on-One. I still remain your host, Fat Baji, taxed with the social and corporate responsibility to inspire the younger generation. My guest remained no other but Mr. ALMANY TAAL. Mr. TAAL, let's talk about the recent statement that Barrow made warning Honorable Kande to desist from inviting Jammeh on his political rallies.
Thank you very much for coming back. I really think it's President Barrow who has made Jammeh relevant again in our politics. President Barrow went to Jammeh's home village of Kanilai and had some private meeting with the Jammeh family that was there. And quite frankly, I mean, it's not the place of anybody to warn anyone against a fugitive from justice. Because, you know, sometimes people forget that Jammeh started his political career through a coup d'etat in 1994. That crime has not been determined by a court. He tried through the 1997 Constitution to try and normalize that coup d'etat or to get some kind of immunity from that crime. But lawyers know that time doesn't run against a crime. And I can promise you that a UDP government is going to prosecute Yahya Jammeh and all his associates for that crime of deposing our democratically elected government in 1994. Now, this man is in the UAE, is in Equatorial Guinea. The Jammeh Commission has established beyond any doubt that he is a thief. He stole the Gambia's money. But regardless of all of that, we have seen President Barrow's effort, and he got his the elected executive of APRC to support him. And it was only when Jammeh, in his native village, came out against that executive that we have now a divided APRC. So both President Jammeh, both President Barrow and Mama Kandeh and President Jammeh should be judged by the Gambian people. Are these the leaders that Gambia needs now? Are these the leaders we can trust? Because at the end of the day, it is about that. They both went after the so-called Jammeh base, and they thought that is going to give them political advantage. It has proven to be a disaster, an unmitigated disaster. Both President Barrow and Mama Kandeh should know that the Gambians are the ones who decide elections, not Yahya Jammeh or his disreputable past. This kind of politics, it belongs in the past, and anybody practicing it also belongs in the dustbin of history.
Okay, Mr. TAAL, thank you very much. Mr. TAAL, let's talk about politics in the Gambia as it is going. You can see youth's involvement in politics. Where do you see the youth's involvement in politics in the next 5 years?
The youths have always been involved in politics, and their involvement is getting even more mature in the sense that they are forming themselves into voluntary organizations. They are forming themselves into CSOs that are fighting for justice, for social justice, for inclusion, for the environment. These are all activities that young people throughout the world are involved in. Now, if you come to partisan politics, it's extremely important to know that more than 60% of the Gambian voters are youths. So the political space is for them to command, is for them to determine who is going to be their leader. If you look at the UDP, for example, more than 90% of our National Assembly members can justifiably be called youths. If you look at our leaders in local government, the mayor of KMC, the mayor of Banjul, the chairman of LRR, the chairman of Basse Area Council, and all our leaders, councillors in government at the moment, they are all young people. So for us as a political party, we place a high premium on an energized democracy run and led by young people. And we are also very concerned and very interested and very committed to women empowerment, especially the young economically active women. These are all of the things that we spelled out in our 5-point agenda, and our efforts to empower Gambians economically is inspired by this idea that if you have a capable state, a state that can add value to the economy, a state that can invest, especially in its young people, by establishing skills training centers, by establishing enterprises and incubators and business associations. This is going to inspire the coming generations to look on politics, as you put it, as an important area of service, and through service to your community, you can become rich, you can become wealthy, you can become a valued member of the community. So this is our engagement with the young people of this country, and we are encouraging all of them to continue with this effort, whether it's in tree planting, whether it's in environmental protection, whether it's in the small businesses that they are doing, whether it's in the creative and cultural industry, in the media. Because of this digital revolution, there are so many opportunities for young people to be involved in the media.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tam. Mr. Tam, let's talk about the current saga that is going on with the Brikama Area Council Chairman. Despite the leak of the audio that is circulating in the country, do you think, or do you have an opinion that President Barrow should fire him with immediate effect by exercising his power, using it?
No, I don't think it should be that drastic. I think we are hoping that in 3 weeks' time you will have a better situation in the Gambia, where the rule of law will be the order of the day, where the rule of law will be followed to the letter. I really think these unfortunate personal incidences must not inform our political discourse, must not affect the approach to having a government of laws. There are a lot of people in the political space who, in a properly governed society, don't even have a place in our political discourse, for the simple reason that it takes a lot to lead, a large number of people. It takes integrity, it takes knowledge, it takes experience to be able to manage a complex organization like the Brikama Area Council. This guy apparently was a driver for a bank here. So really, he has absolutely no qualification, not the temperament, no experience to run the largest municipal government in the Gambia. Having said that, what we are always saying is that those who associate, those who we see surrounding President Barrow, I think have made the governing of this country quite a mess, and it is time that Gambians, especially the media, investigate these characters. Where are they from? Most of them have bogus credentials. They are characters that nobody would, in their right mind, even give them responsibility to take care of, some goat and sheep. So I really think we shouldn't spend a lot of time talking about characters that have, since their emergence in public life, just end up, shamelessly behaving in ways that we don't expect our leaders to behave.
Recently, the Human Rights Commission issued a statement warning both President Barrow and the leader of the party, the United Democratic Party, that he made a statement saying that he will destroy Barrow.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, I read that statement a little apprehensively, because I don't know whether the Human Rights Commission is the right arbiter of political rhetoric. Yes, when people are on the campaign stump, they would criticize each other, they will attack each other, saying that you will retire the party leader is too old, and other derogatory comments are being made by the president, and the party leader saying that he will destroy Barrow. I mean, everyone knows that it's not physical destruction. It's saying destroying somebody at the polls It's not the same thing as threatening or suggesting violence. That's what you do to your adversaries or your rivals. You destroy them at the polls. I don't think it was necessary for the Human Rights Commission to come out with a statement like that, because yes, one can choose language, but there are so many comments we have had from President Barrow and from some of his surrogates, and we didn't hear the Human Rights Commission come out one way or the other. But I would hope that the rhetoric coming out in these next 2 to 3 weeks of the campaign would be on the issues. The issues are the most important things to Gambians across the board. And we should all have a responsibility to address those issues. We should expect, especially from our journalists, to ask us the hard questions to answer those the issues that are before Gambians, not the saga of Sirifo Sonko, because sometimes I think this is where some of us have the feeling that we are being frustrated, because we are asked to respond to non-events or activities that are this way or that way. So I really hope that as we go into the last stretch of this campaign, the issues would be clarified, the positions would be clearer. For example, the UDP is committed to having a new constitution as soon as possible. For example, that is one area we are very keen. Once a UDP government is installed, we will do a comprehensive audit of the assets and properties of the government that are lying around in the country. Can you imagine? There are 3 ministries that are renting private accommodations as their headquarters: the Ministry for Higher Education, the Interior Ministry, the Ministry for Environment. These are all major ministries in a government, but they are renting private properties. Certainly, the housing of the nation should start with housing the government properly. And if you go to Banjul, most of the buildings around the McCarthy Square are dilapidated or run down. What is stopping a government from day one, instead of paying these high rents to all these executive agencies, the likes of PURA, the likes of the Competition Commission, Standards Bureau, the National Human Rights Commission? Everybody is renting. Government can look at its own properties, renovate them, refurbish them, and all of these agencies could be there, and they would save millions and millions of dollars in the payment of rent. So for us, these are the main issues, and these are issues that you can handle immediately you are in government. A new constitution, similarly, even before the next parliamentary election, it could become an issue of referendum. I mean, nobody is saying that the constitution is perfect, but the 1997 constitution was here to enable dictatorship. So for us, these are the issues, and we would want to engage these issues on a serious note, not on the comments of either the National Human Rights Commission or the saga of Sirifo Sonko. So really, we would urge our friends in the media to investigate some of these issues, because I would say things that are going to be true about the UDP, but they are going to also put UDP in a very good light. But you as a media person, you can do your own fact-checking, you can do your own research and see how much is government paying in rent for all its offices or offices under government. How much is it? This is a very fundamental question. We just had a budget shortfall of I don't know how many billion dollars. So these are the issues for Gambians, because at the end of the day, you and I pay the taxes that enable the government to run its programs and activities.
Just to remind you that you are still watching the VOD one-on-one. As time is not on our side, then we'll jump into current affairs. Mr. TAAL, let's talk about the recent saga that happens to involve Abubakar Jawara and the GNPC.
The Gum Petroleum Saga is not, it doesn't involve Abubakar Jawara and GNPC. It's the Gum Petroleum. This is the storage depot where everybody who is in the petroleum business goes and store their petrol. In fact, I understand there is a national reserve below which the operations should not be giving out. But all it shows is that there is some unclear relationship between the proprietor of GACH and the executive. And nobody has heard of this guy until after 2017. All of a sudden, he is in all kinds of things. But you will remember also, is the same guy who was caught importing guns into the Gambia. A lot of serious guns. Like I was saying earlier about the security of this country. There are so many things that are not done transparently. And we do not have the intelligence to capture these things as they are in motion. So this Gum Petroleum Saga, I understand the police are involved in the investigations, and I think it is only fair that people allow the investigation to go on properly, but also to look at the institutions that are involved and the personalities that are involved in this whole saga. Because if the police do their job fine, they will be able to give the Gambian confidence that what was going on was either proper or improper, and who is responsible for what. And before we know it, the right thing would be done.
Okay, Mr. As we approach, time is not on our side, so this is a yes or no question. I ask you, you answer me yes or no. Are you into politics because you had an issue with the former regime, or?
No, I have no issue with the former regime. I was working as a judge, and I was removed, and I think it was almost 10 years after I was removed that this current, the government changed. I mean, well, maybe 7-8 years after that, so I have no issue at all. No.
As we know that you have the right to be politically affiliated with any political party of your choice, but yet still, I will still ask you, why the United Democratic Party?
The United Democratic Party, for me, is the home of Gambian professionals, because the party leader himself, the deputy party leader, the national treasurer, the former administrative secretary, all of these guys were professionals. The deputy party leader was a school teacher. Of course, the party leader himself is a lawyer. I am a lawyer. And I have had the opportunity to work with Usainu Dabo. And his integrity, his humility, with all his achievements, if you go to him, you would have to force him to raise his voice. He is really, really a leader by example, and the ideas and the philosophies of the United Democratic Party are so attractive to any professional, because the first word in the name of the party is united, together, one. And it is for what? To bring democracy in the Gambia. So these two words, these are the two operating words that you want to have larger unity with the diversity we have in our population, but according to a democratic dispensation, where the majority always leads. So these are the reasons for me personally that I chose the United Democratic Party. But it is also a misnomer for a lot of people that because they don't know you, they think this is your first time in politics. I was a youth leader. I told you I was deputy head boy of Gambia High School. I was trained as a youth leader. I was active in the politics of the PPP before I went to university. We had a Newtown Westward. I was born in Banjul, where my father's house is still standing. We had in the Silver Jubilee year of the Gambia, I'm sure that time you were not born. We had waste disposal and tree planting exercises. on this Kairaba Avenue, when it was newly established, some of the trees that are there still now, I can remember when we planted them. So I have been involved in politics, and when I became a professional, I was working in the public service, so I couldn't outrightly support any party. But I can tell you in confidence and between me and my God, all the elections I have voted in, I have voted for the UDP and Mr. Davo.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. ALMANY TAAL. This is our last question. My last question is, Dr. Sissy Dragon, the IEC in court, it's his right. Do you think he has a case in any way?
Oh, well, you know, as lawyers, we always know that you always have a case, because a case is always decided by the court. So the court will have to decide that. And since it is before a court, I mean, I am professionally restricted to speak about the merits of the case, because the court will definitely decide the matter.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. ALMANY TAAL. It's a pleasure having you. And as we come to the end of the VOD one-on-one, Mr. TAAL, we would like to say thank you to you, and what will be your last advice today?
That this country belongs to all of us equally, and we all have a responsibility to make sure that everything happening in the public space is done in a transparent way. Every engagement we do it with civility and respect for each other, and we do it in peace. We make sure that every day when we are walking, we walk in the light, so that the public trust, the public confidence in the politics of service, in the politics of dignity, is our reputation, because people forget we have a very short period in this world. So it's important that whatever you are doing, you do it with honor, with integrity, and with a sense of service to your fellow human beings. I really think our country certainly deserves to have its best citizens, its most honest citizens, to lead public life.
Thank you so much, Mr. ALMANY TAAL. As we come to the end of VOD one-on-one, I remain your host, Fat Baji, taxed with the social and corporate responsibility to inspire your younger generation. Till I come your way next time. Bye-bye.